Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us for tonight's DN35 podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to have all of you here. Whether you are still buzzing off the best start to a season since 1990 or desperately clutching a bottle of Merlot at 2:30 in the morning, trawling an internet forum, you are all welcome here. Maybe not so much the latter. Look, before we get started, we'll address that because we had a couple of questions coming in. We're not really going to talk about it. We're not going to mention it. We're not going to answer any questions. I hope you don't mind, but we're kind of really looking forward to sort of keeping the positivity going and making sure that everybody's happy with how things are going and talking about that rather than sort of talking about a very lonely and sad man. We hope you don't mind, but we need your help. Okay, so please do throw in your questions and your thoughts and of everything that's been going on because it's been pretty sensational so far. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, you're on Twitter, you should have a chat function. I mean, I don't know because I do this bit. But please do put your stuff in there and put your stuff in live. If you are listening on the podcast, look, we don't forget you. We've only done this twice, so you never know. It might not work very well. But do feel free to come along and join us. We tend to be on at 8:30 on a Sunday, and we sort of organise it as best we can. And throw yourself in. So say hello, tell us where you're listening from, and join in with the conversations and our panels. We'll go through it. And with that, as always, live now down in the South Coast for Hampshire's entertainment because I was not good enough. The stalwart of the podcast, Tom, is here. Tom, thank you very much for joining us. Are we going to get some pictures or something in the background of your bedsit or what?
I can give you a quick tour if you like.
This is going to be quick, is it?
Special. So you can't actually see all my shit. I haven't unpacked yet because I'm moving out of here soon. So yeah, there you are.
Was it that bad?
Thrilling, hey?
Was it that bad?
Well, no, I'm moving into a house at the beginning of October. This is just like temporary accommodation.
Yeah,
absolutely. Have you gone back to uni?
I'm training.
It looks like uni digs, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have returned to being a student. I'm training to be a wooden boat builder.
Excellent. You can go and look at the Mary Rose if you want inspiration, can't you?
Yeah, well, I'm only just around the corner from it where I'm training. So
hang on, why would he look at the Mary Rose? The Victory's right there. Why would he look at this? Is the one that sank because it was too heavy.
That one survived underwater for 400 years. That did.
We did. I was at an event last week and it was quite busy. And Harland and Wolf are there, and they made the Titanic, and they had the best stand there. They had those two massive yellow cranes that you see in Belfast. And one of the people that I was talking to go, I wish everyone would stop talking about the Titanic. It's the one thing we built that didn't work. But anyway, the beautiful Bruce has already introduced himself, so he needs no introduction. We'll go on to whatever shirt he's got on in the background in a minute. And the always effervescent Hannah as well. Thank you very much, Hannah, for joining us. How is everything in Lincoln? Have you got some good news about where your relocation is, or is that not public yet?
Yeah, so we've had a mortgage offer and we are hopefully moving back to Caister.
Lincoln is that bad that people have to get out of there. It's just trading one hilly place for another, essentially, and more parking issues. What ooze was that? Anyway, look, it's the greatest start since. I'm going to query this. So someone said it's the best start since the 1990s. It is in the league, but we did lose to Crewe in the League Cup on the way. So I'm going to say this is the club's best start since 1982. When we went, I should have done this before the show, 7 games unbeaten at the start, drawing with Leeds, beating Blackburn, beating Charlton, Bolton and Middlesbrough before losing to Chelsea 5-2. Bruce, were you there?
I wasn't, mate. No. My first game was 85, and then I went again, started going regular in 88. There we go.
Look,
hell.
I was 0 years old and -1, but that's all right. I mean, we need somebody here who tells us that, and we probably need someone here as well that only remembers the 2000s onwards, really, or the 2010s.
Whose favourite player is Wes Thomas?
Yeah, poor son. Look, so I mean, which one do you want to start with? Do we want to start with smashing the Welsh, or do we want to talk about beating Beastleigh Eastleigh or where would you prefer to start from?
Let's do it in chronological order.
Okay, that's the time thing, isn't it? So Wrexham, almost a full house. We sold out our end. 3-1 win against one of the title favourites. It's the second one we've come up against this season. I think, how many of you were there? Tom and me. We were sadly sort of listening on wireless. Hannah, what did you? Rude. Hannah, what? Oh, fair enough. Hannah, how was it? How did it go?
It was great. I think best atmosphere I've seen at Blundell Park probably ever. I mean, the big games when I was younger, I didn't go to. So yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, is that it? Is that? I was taking a swig in my drink. Okay. Where did you end up getting your normal seats, or did you have to sort of be up in the rafters and dodging the duct tape in the main stand, or was it all good?
No, we've got season tickets, so we were fine. Yeah, tried the food for the first time. Really pleased with that. And the only complaint I've got is that there was that big a crowd. We had to park down Car Lane, but I mean, it's good exercise, isn't it?
What part of Car Lane? Is it near Five Ways, or was it sort of the way it fits to the end?
Is it the social club near there?
Oh, okay, that's quite far. That.
Yeah.
Bruce, what about you? What were your thoughts? What were your takeaways from the game, as we would say after a meeting?
I'm just concerned about the case to Mariners and car sharing when Hannah comes back and Dad has to make choice between friends and family. They usually seem to have a car full and a good following. It was a brilliant night, mate. Really enjoyed it. The atmosphere was excellent. The team played really, really well. It was really good to have the Wrexham 500 to bounce off and help create an atmosphere, because the atmosphere was really good. It was. Everyone said it was really good again yesterday, and it was. But there were periods where it was flat. But it seemed like one or both sets of fans were singing all the way through the game on Tuesday, and yeah, it was a really good night, and just I think we laid down a marker for the others, didn't we? Really.
You do have to have those flat periods in terms of atmosphere, though. That's what makes the best nights the best nights. Like my dad and my brother went to the game, and my dad said that was on Tuesday night. That was one of the best atmospheres we've had for a long time. And the sort of nights that you can probably count on one or two hands. The atmosphere was that good. But just to give you like a comparison, when I had a Sanity N season ticket, I was in the Green Angels Ultras section, and they insist on singing for the whole 90 minutes. That's like the Ultras ideology, isn't it? That you never stop singing. But the difference is that you don't have those flat periods in the noise. So in the end, the noise just becomes noise rather than atmosphere. So if you have those games where the atmosphere is a bit flat, that's when you get those like big nights like against Wrexham on Tuesday, where the atmosphere is absolutely electric and you come away talking about it and looking back and having enjoyed it, I think.
I mean, I don't mind as long as it's pumping, and I guess we're going to have this adjustment. Do you think these big crowds are here to stay, guys? Or do you think we're going to worry? We're going to come across a few bumps in the road. It's how this league is. Or do you think they're going to whittle away? Do you think people are returning now because of the new ownership and they're going to be here to stay? Or do we worry that they might just sort of drift away like a I don't know, but drift away. I'm going to end it there.
I've seen a lot of comments from people saying they've returned after so many years. So I'd like to think that the crowds are here to stay, at least sort of maybe not over 6,000, but bigger crowds, definitely.
And I guess, yeah, sorry.
No, sorry, mate. I thought yesterday, I said to one of the lads that I was with, there were loads and loads of parents with youngsters there. And historically, when we've got a big crowd in, the next game, it's generally we've lost 1,000, or it's usually been because there's been an offer, or we've been playing a big opponent. Now on Tuesday, when we were obviously playing one of the most attractive opponents. But then yesterday we had virtually the same number of home fans, and hopefully the experience and the fact that people are getting to the ground at 1:30, 1:00, and they're staying. I mean, we left the fan zone yesterday an hour after the game. You know, when Doc's beers ran out of beer, it was time to go home. But yeah, I think hopefully the experience, because it was all about the game before, wasn't it? And if the game was crap, then you basically came away having had a crap day. But if you've been in the fan zone, atmosphere's been good, and then the performance on the pitch maybe isn't the best, but you know the children still go home and the mums and dads have had a pint and some decent food, they've maybe still had a reasonable day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess actually yesterday, I assumed the home crowd was actually bigger because we didn't have to rely on the 5,000 or so travelling over from the country of Wales. So, you know, it must have been pretty useful. And I guess the question is now, have we underestimated how popular the team was going to be under new ownership and new leadership, and things such as, I know we made some great options with people who wanted to continue to social distance. That part of the Findus was essentially open for them. Are we going to actually have to stop that? I don't know what the configuration of that is, whether they bought season tickets there or not, but I would assume we might actually have to knock that on the head at some point, won't we? If this continues. I'm just going to get a nod.
Who knows? It was nice to get to finally get a decent result against a big team in front of a crowd. And certainly the last time we were in the conference, quite a few times when we got a big crowd in, we ended up having like a really flat performance. And we've had like 3 or 4 big crowds now, and seemingly, albeit yesterday, perhaps want the performance that everybody wanted in terms of, you know, it being blistering, but at least we got the 3 points and we missed a penalty, so it could have been more. So it's quite nice to see that we've got a squad that at the moment seems to be coping with the pressure quite well. I
think we scored at a really nice time yesterday as well, Tom. We just left the lower to try and get a run on the Docks, because the fan zone opens up at half time for games where there isn't more than 40 visiting fans, and we just got stolen a march when we got a corner, so we were sort of stood right next to Alex Hunt when he took it, heading into the fan zone, and yeah, it was just a really good time, because it did feel like it hadn't been the best performance, and you can't play brilliant every game. And one of the lads had said to me just before we left our seats that, you know, it was going to be a game where you'd got to be patient, and the fans had got to try and stay patient, so that if we hadn't scored after an hour, that we could bring on McAtee and we could, try and maybe change it a little bit without the players feeling under pressure. But it just was a really good time to score that, and I think it changed everybody's mood at half time.
It's a nice thing that he's been able to change it, and some people have questioned some of the players that have yet to play and what we think about them, and whether they'll get games. People like Scannell, Grant, and Spokes, for example. And Sears as well. We haven't seen him either. So we've got quite a few players that have yet to sort of make an appearance. Is there anyone in particular we're looking at sort of bringing in that you're looking forward to? And also, are we slightly worried about some of the players? We got Alex Hunt, until January. The same with Towler, who I've been really impressed with sort of his calmness and composure on the ball from the pieces I've seen. Are we worried that come January, a couple of our first team players are going to be moving on to pastures new, or am I trying to find negatives amongst the daffodils?
It's always a danger, isn't it? When they are only short-term loans till January. I don't know what Hannah or Tom think, but yeah, I mean, it's a risk that they're going to recall them in January, isn't it? For sure.
Especially if they're playing so well, I guess it can only be a matter of time. Someone actually, Nick Bray came in and said, should we be thinking about extending Sosa and Afeti's contracts? I don't know what sort of deals they're on. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know if anybody's got Cud Almighty tracker up and running. It looks like Tom's already heading there I can see from his eye line. I don't know. Any of you who are listening, does anybody know how long we've got Sosa and Afeti for? I think they've both been sensational. I was slightly worried about Errico coming up and stepping up from the I don't know what league Darlington are in. They're both on 1-year deals. Thank you, Heel Turn Dan and Nick. You've both added them in. Thank you very much. That is really appreciated. So 1-year deals for those two. Is it worth getting them locked down now already, or are we going to start, causing disruption before we've even begun the season in full?
I think we talked about it on one of the other pods, didn't we? That we'd given out quite a lot of the contracts we gave out this summer were just 1-year deals, and like you say, but aren't you a lot more confident under the new ownership and the new management within the club that we'll actually be alert and we'll be on the ball, and we'll be talking to people, rather than, as we've also discussed on previous pods, the 3 or 4 years in the conference where we lost our player of the year at the end of every season.
Absolutely. At least even giving it a good sort of go. Tom, yes, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I don't think it's something to worry about too much. Like, Sousa has come from the Conference North, so if we do well and get promoted, he's going to have an opportunity to turn pro with a team that's given him a chance playing at a higher level. Affetti, or I don't know how you pronounce his name, apologies. Again, I don't really know too much about his background, but if he's been given an opportunity to play on conference level, and then we get promoted and we can offer him a better deal, I don't think it's really worth worrying about at this stage. You just got to concentrate on the here and now, and if Hunt gets recalled, that is, as Bruce said, the risk with taking out loans. But equally, if we're doing well and he's getting game time, Sheffield Wednesday might be happy to renew until the end of the season. The same with the other guys who are on loan. They're here because they're not getting games at their parent clubs. So, and those
you told us to stay calm and not worry last year.
Pardon?
You told us to stay calm and not worry last season.
Actually, let's go from there, because Tom made an outstanding prediction earlier. Tom, what was your prediction in our WhatsApp group? Are you happy to go public with it?
Yeah, I think we're going to win the league.
There we go. Is anybody else with Tom? Are you already so brimming with confidence that you expect us to win the league straight away? Get your comments in. I want to see how many are backing Tom for this, or whether this is another of Tom's follies and we're staying up.
Alex, can I just... I've actually made a few notes. It's not the back of a fag packet. It's on the back of a gift gaff thing. But it's got here, Alex's first game of the season Saturday, and we're unbeaten. Do you feel any pressure?
To in the mood.
Do you feel any pressure at all?
Look, I thought if there was only going to be one person that would ruin the mood, it wouldn't be me. But there we go. I mean, I do feel it a little bit. With them got Bromley on Tuesday. I'm assuming I might go to that one as well. It's been a busy old week, so it'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll win. Maidenhead will be great, and I hope everybody else is coming. I don't know how many tickets we've got, but there are still available. So get your tickets now, because I don't want to be the only one in Berkshire, singing my lungs out.
You're going, Tom. You're still going, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh, so it doesn't just want to be me and Tom singing our lungs out.
I'm going.
And Bruce, everyone, and Hannah's going. Hugh said he's already bought tickets.
I'm working that day, I'm afraid.
Well, you can work.
It's all a big surprise. It's not true. You're not really. He spoke to your boss.
Yeah, exactly. This is the sort of things everybody gets. Trips to Maidenhead now are what people want to look forward to. I mean, we must. It's a week now to the games. They've been coming quick and thick and fast recently. I guess there's going to be quite a lot going on. What players have impressed you? I mean, we made a comment on the Twitter to really sort of stand out. One of the standout performers has been Luke Waterfall. He's been transformed this season from a guy that was pretty haphazard last season. He's been incredible. I don't know whether or not it's because he's got some legs around him or what do people feel about his performance? They've been able to see him face to face.
Well, confidence. I think last year we had a squad that was completely devoid of confidence, and as they said on one of the COD Almighty columns this week, professional footballers because they're good footballers, and from time to time they have bad games. And I think, unfortunately, we had a lot of players who had bad games last season, but a lot of the time you have a bad game because because you're lacking in confidence, and the people around you lacking in confidence. So it's like a compound error, isn't it? Like one thing leads to another. But I was impressed with Crooks when I went to the Torquay game. I thought he looked really solid. McAtee just seems to run his socks off and has been involved in loads of goals for us. He set up the second goal. I think it was the second goal, Ben Fox's goal anyway, against Eastleigh yesterday. I think obviously Efete has been good. Sousa seems to have quite a lot of energy and tricks. Clifton ran his socks off against Torquay. I think that's one of the positives about this team at the moment. You can go through the whole team, and there are people putting in performances all over the park.
Adam Panel said Waterfall is the new Rob Jones, and then Jam GTFC came in and said Ollie was trying to get people like Waterfall to play like Beckenbauer. Probably didn't help the poor lad. And then Mike McCain come in and said difficult to stand out in a team constantly defending and very poor last year. Solid player at this level. He's been great, and he's someone like Towler, I imagine, would really appreciate having around him. And then you've got Sean Pearson on the bench to follow in. I mean, it's a better defense than we had last season, even with some of the additions we had, in my opinion. I mean, is there anything you want to make comments on with Wrexham? There was one question that came in. Now we've played two of the league favourites. What are we thinking about in terms of the standard of this league compared to when we were here last season? Are you disappointed with it? Are you surprised with how we've been able to take points off them? Is it harder than as hard as we expected it to be once we came in?
I think you've got to. I think we've seen some of the teams, haven't we? It's quite early in the season, isn't it, to sort of judge. I thought Barnet looked better than their league position suggests that they are. Whether we had an off day, but I actually thought that day we created quite a lot of chances, but just to get gifted them 2 goals. We got cut open on the left hand side a bit. Just going back to Tom's point about Crooks. We've said we get quite a good view of him one half of the game, obviously left back in the lower at the Osman end, and he looks like a solid 7 or 8 every week. That's gonna one of those players that you just put in the team and you don't really worry about. He's not gonna catch the attention of up the far end, flying up the wing, perhaps like Efete might. But he's going to do a job for you, and you need 3 or 4 of those players, a bit like Waterfall, in the team if you're going to do well amongst the more flair and creative players. But I think the standard of the league is give it a few weeks yet, and we'll see a few more teams, because I think Hersey said, didn't he, we played Stockport quite early, we played Wrexham quite early. But the great thing we've got is that you can't afford to get left too far behind in this league, and we're right up amongst it. If you want to go up as champions, you can't. You're not going to come from 7 or 8, 9 points behind going into, say, November, because the team at the top's just not going to drop enough points, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. And then has anybody else got anything to add about Wrexham before we move on to yesterday's victory? No, good. Shove that up your arse, Deadpool, is probably the only thing you can probably say, which is quite nice to see us take some points off them. Before we move on to that, we should also say massive congratulations to the GTFC women's team. They beat Sherwood FC today 2-0, and they play Sleaford next in their next game, which is... I've just got next fixture is at home. I'll find out what it is and we'll post it.
I just went on the website, Alex, actually, to try and find out. I saw the scores on Twitter, but if anyone from the club's listening, the women's team page on the website hasn't been updated since the last post was the 1st of September. So that maybe wants refreshing. Because like you, I followed it on Twitter earlier, but I went to have a look at see if there was any match reports or anything. But unless I'm wrong, that's the latest article on there.
Bruce is bringing the vibe down
for the women, which was Ava Halston on 56 minutes and Beth Wharton on 87 minutes.
I would rather ask Rebecca Taylor, Leah Ray, how bad was the traffic that she missed the start of the game because she got dropped to the bench for Rebecca Taylor. I want to know what happened there, because that's a teammates taking the piss out of you for the next 3 weeks, isn't it? Sort of thing. But massive well done. Bruce, stop trying to bring down the vibe. We'll get the website sorted.
I'm just pointing it out. You've got to point everything out. I'll try and be positive from now
on. Well, Eastleigh. This was the game that people had assumed we would win. Let's be entirely honest. There was some great footage that came in from one of the Eastleigh fans, Ahmed, FCV Vlogs, who we pinched that video of from Afete scoring that goal. It was a cracker in terms of it, and they weren't expecting much, but they seem to be a team that caused us more problems than others. One of these sort of teams that defend in numbers and keep it tight. And it was a bit quiet before the goal went in towards the end of the game. How did we all feel towards the end of the half? How did we feel about it all, and what were your thoughts on the performance?
I think it did start a little bit flat, and it took a while for maybe the crowd to get into it as well. But yeah, it's a really good 3 points, and again a clean sheet, which I guess Hurst has been asking his players for.
And I mean, we talk about the flat. Do you think I can only surmise, because I've seen a picture of the goal. How did McAtee's inclusion change the tempo of the game? Because that sort of closing down that we saw from the game at Wrexham was phenomenal, and is what, when you're not getting any luck, and this is what would make me scream blue murder at strikers last season, is they're not creating anything. They're not giving the defenders anything to worry about. Did that sort of level of injection of tempo help with the team, or am I just plucking things out of thin air?
I think what he did was, when he came on, there was we struggled to really create many great chances in the first half, and there was one occasion where Taylor dropped a bit deeper into the hole between the defence and the midfield, and he got the ball into his chest, controlled it, laid it off. We were sort of playing right on their back line, and we ended up going a little bit direct in the first half, which we haven't done. And I think it was probably because we couldn't see that there was nobody showing in the not that I'm overly technical, but there was nobody showing in the middle of the park, sort of between their defence and their attack. And he that's where he plays, in that hole. So he did, and he got hold of the ball. His control's good, and then he brings other players into play, as we saw for Fox's excellent second goal. But I thought Eastleigh were they were quite pretty from box to box, but they didn't really lay a glove on us in our penalty area. They didn't really look, even at 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go, there was perhaps one guy in our area. They looked like they came for a point, and once we'd scored, they looked like they ran out of ideas really, and maybe didn't have the players and the tools to do anything about it.
Are you saying they missed Kevin Ellison?
He always scores against us. He'll score against us when he can't even walk anymore.
Yeah. I mean, what were everybody else's thoughts on it? McAtee has been obviously massively impressive given his goal scoring. Obviously missed the penalty, but it's not a massive deal. Hit the post, so it was going that way. And I mean, this is a bit too fastidious of me. I saw the penalty. There was a question mark that maybe it should have been a second penalty, because he got absolutely derailed off the ball as it was coming back to him off his feet. I don't know if anybody thought that as well. Maybe I'm being far too finicky and just wanted something.
He can't touch it again, though, can he? He went to touch it.
Yeah, exactly. It's an indirect touch.
Yeah, exactly me, Tom.
You used to be a ref. You should know.
Under eights, no one can score a penalty from the penalty area in an under eights competition. Look, it's been good. I don't know what else anybody wants to add to these. I can't say anything because I don't watch them. Is there anything else we can add? I mean, I've got to say, John Tonda does make it terrifying listening to a game nowadays. The way he commentates, it sounds like we've got 10 players on the line defending for dear life.
It was Matt Dean yesterday for a change, wasn't it?
Yeah, Matt Dean yesterday, but Wrexham it was JT. It's nice to see that there's people coming in, and Gary Croft is always a good summariser, really. It was what did we think of the Wrexham goal? Was that a foul in the lead up? Paul Hurst wasn't very happy. Tom is nodding in agreement.
It was definitely a foul, wasn't it? I think anybody who's seen the footage, and pretty much every person I've spoke to that was there said it was a foul, and the only person that didn't think it was a foul was the ref. So,
yeah. Fair enough. There we go.
It did look like a. I mean, we obviously don't get the best view from quite low down in the lower, but it looked like a bit of a scissor tackle. Sort of came in with his legs either side, probably out of control. But I mean, to be fair to them, yes, it should have been a free kick, but from that point, it was quite tidy, and they cut through it. They cut through quite easily. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because we scored the goals that matter at the other end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to see Max Wright get a goal as well. It's good to see him on the score sheet, and he's a really dangerous addition, sort of late on in a game when people's legs are tiring. He can really sort of break a team apart with that sort of pace, and it's nice to see he's still got it.
Did they say yesterday? Sorry, Alex. Did they say yesterday whether he was on the radio, whether he was just not selected for the squad, or whether he was injured at all? Because after coming on and scoring, and Hursty talking about his confidence, it seemed quite surprising that he wasn't included in the squad. And then towards the end, in the interview afterwards, Hursty alluded to the fact that it was perhaps a bit early for Lenny, and he maybe shouldn't have. I know they're a different kind of player, but it was a little bit. It must have been a bit unfortunate for him not to be included in the squad at all.
I haven't heard anything. I don't know what you guys heard. Anybody listening, if you know anything as well, throw it into the chat as well. Did anybody see why Max Wright wasn't added to the squad? Yeah, Tom.
Well, I mean, I don't know the reasons, but also listening to the interview, Hurst did say that the last couple of games they've had a lot of travelling, and the statistics or whatever, how they monitor the players' fitness and efforts. Mike McMahon says he'd done his hamstring.
Oh,
but I think he did rotate the squad anyway, didn't he? Because I think some of the players were essentially tired from all the travelling and playing that they've been doing and the intensity of the game. So, and we rotated some of the squad and we won. So that's another positive to take from the game.
Absolutely.
Is that definitely right, Mike? Because I mean, if that's the case, we've talked before this season about his injury record. Bless him. I mean, obviously they've not said anything but that's if he's got another hamstring injury, he's struggled before with his injuries, hasn't he? That would be devastating. I mean, hopefully that's not too bad.
Yeah, come on, Mike, is that right? Do our research for us, please.
Here we go. So Pontoon Lou said on the fishy, so we know it's true. He said Max Wright did his hamstring, scoring the goal against Wrexham. Apparently, gutted for him. There we go. But enough to put him out for a couple of games. But hopefully it'll be all right. I'd rather him come off, and we've got enough players in the team to sort of rotate and go with it. We've got Maidenhead coming up next. I don't know anything about them. I didn't even know where it was, and I only live like 40 minutes away. What do we know about them? What should we be worried about? And do we think this is going to be a nice thing? Tom is already eager, Beaver. He's got his research there.
Yeah. So they're 16th in the league on 6 points, played 6, won 2, lost 4, conceded 11, scored 8, and they've lost the last 3 games against Notts County away yesterday, Stockport at home, and Torquay at home. Their top scorers are Sam Barrett, who played for a couple of years at Southend when they were in the league, but he actually only played 10 games. And he's got 2 goals, but he scored 19 goals in 128 appearances over 2 spells at Maidenhead. And he's got 2 England C caps, one of which was against Wales C at Jenner Park, Barry Town's ground, and I was there. So I've seen him play before, but I can't actually remember.
How was he?
Anything about it. The only thing I can remember about that game is the floodlights starting to sort of smoke, and then everybody wondering whether they were going to set on fire and the game was going to have to be called off because there was quite the stench coming from the floodlight electricity thing at the bottom.
I knew you'd get some floodlight chatting. Who had 38 minutes on the bingo card?
And then their other top scorer who's also got 2 goals is Josh Kelly, and he came through their youth system. And their next 3 games are against us, Kings Lynn and Yeovil. And that is all I've got on Maidenhead, I'm afraid.
They've got Nathan Blissett. I assume it's not a relation of Luther. Yeah, that's it. They've got a really small squad as well. but I can't see any names that sort of ring a bell with us. So they rank very low on the former Grimsby Town curse scale. So hopefully no former players coming in and banging 1 or 2 in against us.
That's good, mate. I've got a little bit of information that Grimsby fans will be interested in.
Go ahead.
Mark James, who lives down that way, sent me some information on the pubs.
Go ahead.
They've got a pub called O'Neill's, so we're going to win surely.
Is that just the Irish bar?
I don't know. We had an O'Neill's in Cleethorpes, and they've got an O'Neill's, so for me that's as good as 3 points.
There's an O'Neill's in Portsmouth as well.
Yeah,
they've got a weather.
It's a change.
Tom, leave me with it. They've got a Weatherspoons, the Bear.
Oh, fucking hell! You two are off pub watch. Like these are shit suggestions.
There's an O'Neill's in Woking.
Well, the Maiden's Head. She might be able to talk you with in floodlight girth. They've got the.
I'm sorry. Hang on. Is there a pub in Maidenhead called the Maiden's Head?
Yes.
Okay. They were really.
Is that where we're meeting? Are we going there?
No.
What about the Copper Club? COPPA.
That doesn't sound like a place anybody wants to go unless you.
There's a couple of pubs that might now we're a bit more upmarket. A couple of pubs on the Thames where you can sit and watch people go past in their sailing machines.
They're called boats.
What about canoes and other types of? They're not all boats.
It's still a version of a boat. Pedalows.
You get pedalows on the Thames, don't you?
I don't think you would. I don't know. I don't see them. We live near that. I don't see it.
You might get your pedalo caught up in a shopping trolley or something.
No, it's very nice down this way.
Is it?
No shopping trolleys here.
Where the pigeons shit? They got bags. They carry bags around. All pigeons wear nappies. I'll leave it there. That's Maiden's Head pub watch.
Look, has anybody got any ideas of what Maidenhead does and what they're like? Are they playing black and white? I think because I've seen that they've got a black and white stand. They've got a 3G pitch, which is the first time we will play on one in a league game, which will be entertaining, I guess. Yeah, no, I've never seen us play on. I don't think we've ever played on a 4G pitch before, have we?
Good practice for Bromley. We play Bromley after Dover, don't we? Like you say.
We do.
And they've got one, haven't
they? Yeah, I think they do. So we'll have played 2 of our 4G pitch games. I don't know what that means. I don't know what we expect. Is anybody here a 4G pitch expert? The ground is a bit bouncier, is all I can probably give.
This is where we need to get Henry on for his artificial grass watch.
Well, this is why he should have been here. You see, he's totally missed it for us. Let's have a look. I don't know what else we can really add to that. We won't probably come on till Bromley either. So what are we feeling about them as well coming in? I expect us to win at Maidenhead. It'll be nice to keep it rolling, and I'll feel awfully bad if we don't from my first game of the season. And what are we thinking for Bromley?
In 6 points from the next 2 games, really, aren't we? Like they probably won't say it openly, but I think they probably sort of. I remember seeing a video with Michael Jolly when he was manager, and they certainly had like a list of fixtures up on the board, and it seemed to be sort of, what they're expected or what they were hoping for as a points return from those games. And I think a lot of teams sort of do that. They target games, but I think you're going to come away disappointed if you've not got 6. Definitely if you've not got 4.
I think definitely Tom, out of Eastleigh, Maidenhead, and Dover, you'd want a minimum 7 points, wouldn't you? Minimum, like you say, they've got to be targeting 9.
Yeah. Sorry.
And then what would we be if we don't lose those 2 games? Would that be what are we now? We're 6 unbeaten, 5 and 1.
We'll be flying.
We're 6 unbeaten, and we've won 4 in a row. 1982, we had won 1, 2, 3, 6 in a row, which would be wonderful to beat if we could do that.
I missed it, Tom, while you were doing while I was doing my pub research. Did you tell us what sort of crowds they get at Maidenhead?
I don't know what sort of crowds they get, mate. To be honest with you, I can have a look in today's non-league paper and do a little James Richardson for you.
They didn't have that in our shop today.
I ain't got a coffee or a gelato, but I'll just have a quick look.
He would never eat a gelato, would he, on a Saturday?
Hey, why not? Just
because it's in the morning. Well, yeah.
I'm an adult. I can have ice cream in the morning if I want.
Won't they have been away?
They were away, mate. Yeah. So
I was going to say, won't they have been away if they're at home to us next week?
I haven't got any information there for. Although in the non-league paper, if anyone hadn't bought it, there was a fairly decent spread mentioning the mighty Mariners this week, and Chris Hargreaves has also got a little column in there where he talks about us. There's a full coverage of yesterday's game. Oops.
Hey, we got a mention in that, didn't we?
We got a mention in the coverage of the Wrexham game, which was a whopping 2-page spread. And also,
it's a good paper, that.
They had a really interesting double-page spread on the big debate: is a broadcast blackout vital or outdated, which I thought might be quite interesting for us to have a little discussion. And Grimsby Town fan Beanie Tony from Immingham had one of his tweets clipped as part of the coverage. And his opinion on the blackout is should be a blackout for top flight clubs, or a lot of other fans would stay home and watch the big clubs instead of watching their own team. But championship downwards, I would scrap it. I would say even the championship, they should maintain it. But I'd be interested to maybe sort of see if they could do like an experiment, which was, I think, suggested by the Alvechurch manager, and like maybe do a trial where they do a period where you can get rid of the blackout and see how that affects attendances. I am fundamentally against it, but sometimes you have to maybe just try things, don't you? Especially with exiles and lots of people living all over the country and the world these days. It gives people a chance to be connected to the club, as Alex has said on previous occasions.
My biggest concept is the illegal streams. Once it's out there and there's a stream, then people will tap into it.
I think it'd be interesting to see. One of the options that Tom, you've watched quite a lot of football on the continent. One of the reasons why people on the continent don't have a blackout is simply because they don't all play at the same time. Most of the leagues that I know on the continent play their league footballs at different times of the week. So in La Liga, Liga 1, I believe their games are mostly on a Sunday for Liga 1, and then Ligue 2 are on
Saturday
at 2, aren't they?
Saturday at 7 for Ligue 1, and then they have like their sort of their like Super Sunday equivalent is at 9 p.m. French time, which is actually PSG Lyon tonight, Messi's home debut for PSG. And then in the La Liga, it's sort of spread over the weekend, but they have their main chunk of games on a Saturday afternoon. And in France, for example, Ligue 2 is on a Friday night. They have all their games on a Friday night, and they have their showcase game on a Monday night.
Yeah, but I think that might work.
Staggered.
So
as are the Bundesliga ones.
Well, I think most of them are same with Serie A too. So Serie B is on a Saturday and Serie A is the Sunday, really. So it'd be worth it. I'd happily do that. If the Premier League want to not have a blackout, they can fuck off to another day. If they want to do it Sunday at 4, then that's fine. And we'll do it our way. I'm quite happy with the idea. I wouldn't be too worried about it. I think for speaking, I would like to think that if it was being streamed anywhere, I don't necessarily think it would have a massive effect on attendances, because you have been able to do that for the last few seasons before the lockdown. You were able to do it with VPNs and such, and that's what I used to do. I would like to think that's the case, but I'd also like to think that the more coverage the clubs get, the more professional coverage they get, and the more immediacy they can have to the grounds, then I would hope that would, in the long term, have a positive effect. But I'm not basing that on any material. I'm just basing it on my feel-good factor. I'm sure it'd go tits up if we did it that way, but if they want to do it, that's fine. But it's only because Cristiano Ronaldo's here with his sexual assault allegations, parading around Man
Did we
United.
talk about in this month's When Saturday Comes, in the last one? I can't remember if we did or I was speaking about it to someone else, but there was a really good article by someone who is like a cameraman for a lower league team. Goals on Film was the article. And he said, like, one of the problems with, like, because people in the last couple of years have moaned, especially during the pandemic, about coverage at lower league levels. That's it. Vantage Point in the October edition of When Saturday Comes. And he said basically, like, loads of teams at lower levels don't have the facilities. And in the Premier League, obviously, they have multiple camera angles because they've got like an international feed. So they need all these cameras. But a lot of the time, they just don't have those facilities at lower league. And are clubs willing to invest in facilities that can bring it up to that professional standard that you sort of talk about? There is a great quote in this one. He says, if I am permitted to stay, like to film where he's been asked to film, I have to hope the supporters behind me don't get annoyed by my presence and start swearing, because my microphone is the only one in the stadium and 1,000 Cambridge United fans singing the cameraman's a wanker. It's not the ideal soundtrack to the highlights of today's match.
I mean, they're not the worst ones for the match. I'll be entirely honest. I'd love to watch that. There was that one where in Scotland where they had an automatic ball tracker, didn't they, on the camera? So they don't have a cameraman. It had some sort of algorithm in it to track the ball. Instead, it was fully automated, but the linesman had a bald head, so it kept focusing on the linesman rather than the football. So people who were streaming it during COVID, all they had was the camera just watching the linesman walk up and down, and no one could fix it, which was brilliant. I don't know, what do people think who are watching live? Do you think we should, go to should there be a 3 p.m. blackout? Or do you think it would affect the club if we didn't? Do you think it matters because we seem to be selling out at the moment? Are we going to be short-sighted and think it's going to be fine? It'll be good to get your thoughts as well. I guess that's another question. We got lots of fans now. Where do we put them?
I think there's a danger that I don't know where I'm going to put my friend when I bring him.
He's going to go on the roof. So where do we put them? Is this a short-sighted problem? Is this a short-term problem? Are we going to have this longer? I mean, in my head, anything, if they have a big away following like Wrexham, then we get the corner. If it's a small following like Eastleigh, then they get the corner of the Osmond and we get the other side of the Osmond stand instead, because it's quite easily divided, is it not? There is a barrier up at the top where it says bar, and there's the vomitorium or whatever you call it, which is where the people come out to find their seats. Tom, sorry. No, go ahead, Bruce.
I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of saying where we're going to put all our fans. I mean, I know we've had like some cracking attendances, but we're not genuinely at full capacity. There was certainly like empty seats in the Osmond. There was certainly empty seats in the main stand from the footage that I saw, and there was certainly empty seats in part of the pontoon from camera angle that I saw where someone filmed the penalty. Now, I don't know whether that particular one was because everybody had surged forward to get on the walkway to, be part of the celebrations. But I think before you can start worrying about like needing more seats, you have to sustain this for 20 games at least. And it was better to have an absolutely full pack to the rafters house where nobody else can get in my opinion, than extend and have lots of empty seats, because when it's full, the atmosphere, as we already spoke about, is just so much better.
I think Tom's right, Alex. Yesterday, I had a bit of a look before kickoff at the tickets, because I think Geordie Mariner's had everybody on it, hasn't he? And there were quite a reasonable number of seats towards if I'm sat in the lower, towards the top left of the main stand. And funnily enough, the block at the far right, I don't know whether it's reserved for the free tickets from the football in the community or whatever, but that was fairly sparse. There were a few in there.
Yeah.
But then I think, like you say, what they appeared to be doing was letting the people that were sitting in the Osmond corner, so they filled it for anybody that wasn't there, they filled it from the main stand end for town fans, and then they just moved them from the middle block to the far right as you look from the pontoon. They seem to be letting the town fans through the front, so they were walking. And that vlog that you talk about, he went in the traditional Harrington Street entrance, didn't he? And he walked round the back of the stand. So I think Tom's right, and I understand the question, but I think we need to sustain this for quite some time. And for most games, there are going to be enough seats to go round, unless it'll be really interesting to see for the Dover game, if we win at Maidenhead and we do all right at Bromley, how the crowd is again, because there were literally about the 500 that Wrexham didn't bring was the difference yesterday. That as far as the gate was something just over 6,000, and it was 6,600 on Saturday, on Tuesday, sorry. So it was effectively the same number. Is the interest going to increase, and how long are we going to have to sustain this run for it to increase? If that makes sense.
Yeah, my thought process is we've got 3,000 season ticket holders. There are 6,800 seats, I think, for home fans. I think is probably what they've said. My only problem is if you are is somebody who doesn't go regularly or doesn't really experience Wonder Park, is if you buy your tickets late on in the week, the likelihood of you getting a good view is going to be relatively quite quickly diminished, and it might necessarily might not necessarily, it might affect your thoughts on returning. Hannah, what were you going to say?
I've seen a few tweets and wondered it myself actually, but if you're a season ticket holder that can't attend, is there a way to gift your ticket to the club to sell again? For example, on Tuesday night, our little girl didn't go with it being so late. We couldn't give it to anyone ourselves because it was an under 3 ticket. But we've got real good seats. So if we could have said to the club, do you want to sell that seat? Then we would have done.
I think, do you know what? Christine came to us and she said, I think they're working on it because they don't know how that goes at the moment. Would they return it to you on a pro rata basis as cash in hand? Because then sort of madness there lies if sort of people then, if you get a season ticket and then we're 21st in the Football League and go, right, I'm not coming to the last 16 games. Can I have my money back? Or if they can do it as a credit or whatever. I think that was the problem. But if they could just give it, sorry,
what I was thinking was like she wasn't going to go because of the time. We wouldn't have wanted money. We would have it would have been an empty seat. So why not fill it?
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, if fans can do that and are kind enough to, or even if you can just, if you could get, there's been fans talking about gifting and sort of paying it forward for fans that can't afford to go. Could that be something that you would be able to do then where you go, okay, well, I can't go, but if anybody who can't afford to go,
yeah,
they can have my seat. Tom, what were you going to say?
I'm almost certain that Tottenham Hotspur have a system where they, because my mate's a season ticket holder at Spurs, but he lives in York. He works up there now. And there's definitely like a system at Spurs where you can say you're not going, and then they're able to resell that ticket. I don't know if he gets any cash for it, but there certainly is that facility. And for those people who not getting the seats they want because they're booking later in the week, I'll just take a Pontin's advert quote and just say book early.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
I saw somebody had somebody mentioned it might have been
I like the fact that I put a professional thought across and Tom just comes across as a silly bugger, but I think that's genuinely a problem. And Tom's an arse. What were you going to say, Bruce?
I think that somebody had put the other day that they'd had 3 new season ticket holders next to them since the start of the season. So I think Tom's partly onto something that if you want to be part of the ride and you can go every game and you can afford it, then get yourself a season ticket and then you don't have to worry any game.
Yeah, and I
as
guess
well as he's joined 1878 club, because hasn't that been set up for people to basically have the same priority season ticket holders for 5 selected games? So if I appreciate that everyone's able to plan in advance, but the club have tried to sort of remedy it by offering like a membership scheme where you can get priority access to tickets. And I know others joined,
just
for
never turned it on
example.
for home games, is it?
Pardon?
I guess it's just not. They've just. I assume they never thought they'd have to do it for just a regular home game at Eastleigh.
Well, no, that was the whole idea of it, right? That it was for, it was designed for like shift workers and stuff like that. People who can only get, or people who work in pubs or whatever and have to work weekends. People who can only sort of predict that they might only make like a handful of games per season, but do really want to go to the games when they can. And that obviously, if you go, it's always the case for any team that's going well, that there's going to be demand for tickets. So I think we're sort of just panicking ever so slightly. I think there are things in place, and as Bruce and I said, I think you need to sustain it for 20 weeks before you can even say, "Oh, this is a crisis." Or not that you said that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, no one's panicking, no one's crisis. We're just talking about stuff that's happening. We've never had this position before. Orange Vox had the good answer. We'll just put the green seats back in, and then everything will be fine. And we can use them instead. I don't know if there'd even be room in the Finders corner, but there we go. Has anybody got anything to add before we go? I know we're coming up to sort of an hour, so I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts on what's coming up. Tom's got one.
Bruce asked how the youth team got on yesterday. They played Scunny, drew 0-0. They're currently second in the table on 14 points, 1 point behind top of the table Rotherham, and 5 ahead of third place Lincoln City.
How many games have they played, sorry?
6.
Oh, nice. Not too bad at all then. Going great guns. And we'll hopefully have somebody.
The club's on a roll. Club's on a roll.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scunny drew another game. There we go. They should get used to that. I guess that's it, really. I don't think we've got anything else to add today. I was going, look, let me have a quick look through the questions. Has anybody got anything that they saw that would be worth talking about?
While you're doing that, I think this after all the travelling we've done and with the long journeys we've got coming up this week without a game is going to be really useful. Give them a rest, get some, and then get some training in the ones that we're trying to get back to fitness. And hopefully, as long as we don't get any injuries during the week, he can have a real dilemma when he picks his squad next weekend, because he hopefully Mrs. Taylor will have had the baby, and others will be returning to fitness, and he'll have probably 17 or 18 players to choose a 16-man squad from.
I'll tell you something, that's a great advertising opportunity for some curry house in Cleethorpes and Grimsby to offer them, free curries every night until she gives birth, just so he doesn't avoid the match. Absolutely, Gemma. Is there anybody else that we haven't talked about? Ben Fox's goal. I haven't even seen it yet. Was it any good? Everyone's saying it was a beaut.
Screamer.
Was it a screamer?
I'll send you it, mate. I'll send you it.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. That would be very. I can't see it. I can't afford BT. So I have to watch all this stuff. Anybody else got anything to add? Anybody got any questions online? And then we'll go off. I feel like I'm doing a Q&A at an exhibition. My money's on. Okay, so we're now doing a. Are we doing a? Are we doing a sweepstake on West?
A baby Taylor watch.
Right, we're doing a sweepstake on when Miss Taylor's going to have. You can pick morning and afternoon on a day. Okay, so Hannah, you're the only one with experience of having a child. What day are you going to go for? And we can have a sweepstake on it.
Okay, I reckon either she's had it or just about to have it.
Mike, you can't just put 4 and 6. I'm going to write it down. And then the winner gets this cup that I can't get rid of. So my dad got me this cup, one of these terrible Mariners number one fans. I don't know why he gave me Craig Disley's number, but there you go. And so the winner will get that. You'll have to pick it up from me from Maidenhead or something. So Hannah when are you going for? She's already had it.
Well, it's today, so she might be just about to.
Okay, today. Okay. Danny T said. I can't believe I'm writing this down. Who loves a bit of admin on a Sunday night? Wednesday night. Okay, Tom, where are you going for?
I really don't want the cup, so I'm going to bow out.
Tom, you're picking a
You've
date.
got to you can't, you misery guts. Come on.
It's because I called him an arse earlier.
Let's say 2 on Tuesday.
What? Tuesday morning?
2 weeks on Tuesday.
She's already a week overdue, isn't she?
Yeah, I just said I don't want the cup. I'm playing the game.
Okay. Oh, God, Alex.
So when's he saying? Tuesday morning. All right. No, you get Tuesday afternoon.
Alex, come to me before Jam GTFC, please.
I've already written his down.
Oh,
you can have tomorrow. You can have tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, I thought we were doing AM and PM. You said.
Well, we'll do morning, afternoon, and night. So anything after 5 p.m. is night, or 6 p.m. is night. Bruce, when are you going to go for? Tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, 12 till 6.
Gemma Barley said she wanted some pogs. I don't have any pogs. Does anybody still have pogs?
What is a pog?
What's a pog?
Yeah.
What are we living in? It's the little circle disc that you used to hit in the 90s.
Poor man's Tazo.
Sounds like one of them dogs that goes in your handbag.
That is the most 90s reference I've ever heard, Bruce.
What?
Mike is... Clarky. A pog is, it's from the 90s. Clarky is saying...
Is that like the them poppets and fidget spinners of the 90s?
No, they were better than that. Clarky LA said Friday morning. That poor woman is already overdue. She's not going to wait another week.
That would be unfortunate though, because he'd probably have to make his own way down there because he'd miss the bus.
Yeah, this is the problem. I can give him a lift if that happens. Mike says Thursday 4 till 6. He's getting very precise. Yeah, you can't now have.
Hang on. You can give him a lift. You're already down there.
I'll come up and get him. Thursday, Mike, you can't be that accurate. You're ruining it.
Down, as long as you don't mind a fry up at Colsterworth on the way.
Anybody else? I haven't even put mine in, but I don't want it, so I don't have to have it. Tom, I hope you win it. Because firstly, you're in drivable distance, and secondly, you can just have it. Right.
I would love for us to buy Tom a pint on Saturday, sorry, and put his drink in it and see whether he still refuses it.
Danny, on Saturday anyway. I'm racing on Sunday, so I won't be boozing.
Danny T said he thinks Hannah has some inside information on this. Maybe she's really updated Citroen Berlingo watch now, and it's gone to Taylor Drop Watch.
No, I ain't got a clue. I just thought I'd be creative and say something that no one else did.
There we go. I mean, anybody else, you're more than welcome to. If you listen to this in the podcast, and she hasn't given birth yet, I'm not having she gave birth at 16:35 on Tuesday afternoon when it's in the Telegraph. But we'll get it down. Hopefully it won't be on Tuesday or Saturday, and she can, sort of have it. They can enjoy themselves a bit. Hopefully tomorrow or something like that. There we go. We're talking about pregnancy. Anybody got anything else to add? And we can shut up. Good. Well, thank you all for joining in the sweepstake. That'll be £2, please, from everyone. I will give you my bank details later, and we can go from there. Thank you all so much for joining us. Don't ignore the fishy and people getting drunk and talking rubbish on it. Keep the positivity going. We shall see you all. Maybe we can do it from the car as I'm coming home, and we can talk about it. Tom, do you need a lift up tomorrow on Tuesday?
Saturday.
I'm getting trained. Mate, I've booked it.
Oh, fine, fair enough. That's all right. All right then. Well,
see you Saturday.
See you later. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
All the Mariners.
Hang on, I've got to do this video thing, and
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Tom, say bye.
Bye.
Open wide for some soccer.